All right, so welcome to Professionalism in Healthcare. When you think about professionalism, you might be wondering, well, what does that really mean? Is it the way I dress? Is it the way I talk? Is it the way that I write my emails or my correspondence? Is it my relationships with other people? And the answer to that question is yes. Professionalism is all of those things and more. It really encompasses a whole way of being, a whole way of acting and interacting with people. And that's why this is a 10 series webinar or training, because there's so much to cover under professionalism. So we're breaking it down and diving a little deeper into each aspect of what it means to be professional in healthcare and in everyday life. Before we go much further, I wanted to just explain how to use this platform, the GoToTraining platform. So on the right hand of your screen, you should have that red microphone. That means that you are muted. We would encourage you to stay muted for most of the webinar. We've got several people on here, and if we try and talk over each other, that would be difficult to have a conversation. If you have a comment you would like to share or an experience you would like to share, that next icon down is a hand. And if you click on that, that will raise your hand, and hopefully I will see that and ask you to unmute yourself and share your comments or questions or opinions. So you can unmute yourself, raise your hand, put your hand down. The next icon is an outline of a couple of people, and that will allow you to see who else is in attendance at this webinar. The next one down is a chat bubble, and that will enable you to make comments in our chat box. That's what I would prefer for comments and questions, and I'll try to be really good about checking that and answering those questions for you. If I don't get it right away when you put something in that chat box, I will definitely, at the end of our training, go through there and make sure I answer all of your questions. Another feature is, and I wanted to mention in the chat box, you can send a chat that everyone who is in attendance can see. So it will say to everyone, or you can send it to a person specifically or to myself. So I am shown as South Central AHEC organizer. So if you want to send a message privately to me, you can do that too by choosing that under who your to form is. You can send it to everyone or one person in particular. The next is the materials. We do have a couple of videos that I'm going to show today, time allowing, and if you would like to access those, you are able to access those independently through the materials tab, which is like a piece of paper there. And then there's a settings there that will allow you to use your computer audio to hear and to speak, or you can use a phone call if that's more efficient and works better for you. You click that little button that says phone call, and it will give you a number and a PIN number so you can have your audio through a phone call instead of through your computer audio. Heather, I got your message. You're having audio difficulties. Thank you for letting me know. Rochelle, welcome. Nice to have you all here. All right, so to jump into our topic of professionalism, I want you to imagine the following scenario. A distant but very wealthy relative has just left you a large sum of money. This is pretty exciting for you. This could be the beginning of a very comfortable life without any financial worries, but there are some strings attached to this gift. So the strings are that you must use this money to purchase and or build a health clinic in an underserved area. This was important to your relative to serve the medical and health needs of underserved populations. So they're putting that stipulation on the money that they are leaving to you. they have given you enough money to cover all of the operating expenses for the first 2 years for this clinic that you're going to build or you're going to buy. So there are no financial worries for 2 years, but after that, whether it succeeds or fails depends on how you've managed that clinic. Have you built a successful business? So if you have, you could potentially be taken care of for the rest of your life. If you have not, you could potentially lose everything. So I want you to think about that for a minute. What would be important to focus on to ensure that your health clinic would be successful? And as you think about that, I'm going to ask you to take a poll, and I've compiled a few possible answers to that question. And I'd like you to choose which one you think is the most important to focus on. So there is a poll on your screen. Check one of those and submit your answers, and then I'll share the results with you. Okay, I show that 82% of our attendees have voted. Let's see if we can get 100%. We got it to 90%. I'll give you a couple more seconds. If you haven't voted, please do. All right, thank you, everybody. I'm going to close the poll and share the results with you. So it looks like by far the number one answer is good employees. Low fees for patients came in second. None of you think that location is something that's important to focus on, state-of-the-art equipment or advertising, and I would agree with you. And I can think of several examples. I live in Anchorage, and one of the most popular restaurants in Anchorage, and many of you probably know this, is Moose's Tooth Pizzeria. But if you try to get there, it is not easy. The location is not ideal for a restaurant because it's very hard to get in there. It's on a one-way street, not a lot of parking, but because the product and the service is so good, it's incredibly successful. And also you might know of some businesses that you're initially attracted to maybe because of advertising. Maybe it's a brand new building. But if they don't provide good service, if you don't receive good care there, there's a very good chance that you're not going to go back. And so the truth is, the number one most valuable thing that any business has are their employees. And that's you and me. So my challenge to us, or my request to us, is that we become the type of employee that we would want to hire. We acknowledge this power that we have to make or break a business, and we contribute to its success. Now, when we're looking at qualities of an employee, you might have heard of terms of hard skills and soft skills. If you're not familiar with these terms, hard skills are those things that you learn in school or your training. Someone can teach you. For example, how to take vital signs, how to do medical charting, medical terminology. Those are things that you can learn. Soft skills are harder to learn. They're harder to teach. They're that way of being friendly and providing good customer service and being able to de-escalate a situation. Those things that you can't really teach, so well that either come naturally to a person or they learn through experience. And most employers will tell you if they have the choice between hiring someone who has excellent hard skills but are lacking in soft skills, or they have a candidate who has excellent soft skills but are lacking in hard skills, they will choose the candidate with soft skills because they can teach them those hard skills. It's very hard to teach soft skills if you don't have those. Another thing that comes to mind, my husband and I used to watch a show called House. I don't know if any of you have ever seen that, but there's a doctor who's the main character in the show House who is brilliant. He has all of the hard skills. He can solve cases where patients come in and have very difficult, hard to diagnose conditions. And he's the guy who can figure it out, but he has horrible soft skills. He's not nice, he's not kind, he's not tactful. And in a real life situation, a person like that probably wouldn't be able to keep their job. So having soft skills are incredibly important. So let's say, for an example, a nurse, what type of hard skills would they need to be successful? So some of those are taking vital signs, medical terminology, learning the computer programs, CPR training, being able to draw blood. But in addition to those hard skills, to be the most successful and to provide the best care, a nurse would need to be good in effective communication, be able to creatively think and problem solve, be able to cultivate interpersonal relationships, be able to relate to their patients and their coworkers, and develop relationships, be good at problem solving, and have a good bedside manner. So those are the soft skills that are also very important. Another topic that is important to being professional is making a commitment to your job. Can you think of something that you are very committed to? Maybe some of you are committed to exercise. You faithfully work out 3 times a week, or committed to a healthy diet. And then there are things that we're not so committed to. Maybe our hairstyles, maybe a certain brand of clothing will change if we find something that comes up that we feel is better. We're not so loyal to that particular thing. An example of this is when I was a single many years ago. I was on a committee for a young single adult conference at my church. They were having a 3-day conference for young single adults from age 18 to 30 all across the state. They were coming to Anchorage for 3 days, and they asked me to be on the committee to help plan activities. We had a committee planning meeting scheduled for a Friday evening, and I was planning on attending. And a few minutes before I left for that meeting, I got a phone call from a young man that I had a big crush on. And he asked if I was busy, and if I wasn't busy, if I would like to go on a date with him that night. Well, guess what I did? I blew off my commitment to my committee meeting that I had, didn't show up, didn't call or anything. And I told this young man, oh, I'm not doing anything tonight. I'd love to go out with you. So there's a poor example of someone not making a commitment to their obligations. And I still feel bad about this today. In retrospect, I could have told him I've got a meeting from 7 to 8, but I'd love to get together afterwards and everything would have been fine. But I did not have that commitment to my obligation. And I left a bad impression with the people that were counting on me. So when I ask you to make a commitment to your job, I want you to know that you are going to be there, and your employer knows that you're going to be there. They can count on you, that you have a amount of loyalty to them, and you realize that you're important. You're important to the team, patients, your coworkers, your supervisor will suffer if you don't show up. So think about your roles and responsibilities. How do those connect to other workers? Which workers depend on you to get their work done? So if you're not there, they're not able to fully do what they need to do. And going the other way, which workers do you depend on to get their work done so you can do what you need to do? And where do patients fit into this picture? There are no unimportant positions in healthcare, and to realize that if we are not there, if we are not doing what is expected of us, it affects everyone else. Another aspect of professionalism is self-awareness, being present. That's kind of a buzzword right now, being aware of what's going on. There have been a couple of times when I've been driving home from work, and I get home from work and I have no memory of any part of that drive. Like the stoplights, were they red? Were they green? Did I see any other cars? I've been on autopilot because I've done that drive for so many years that I'm not aware while I'm driving home of what's going on around me. And that's a very scary situation to be in. Sometimes in the morning when I'm getting ready for work, I'm on autopilot too, and I'll stop and I'll think, did I even brush my teeth this morning? I don't remember. And so I actually pick up my toothbrush and feel if the bristles are wet to figure out, did I brush my teeth while I was on autopilot with no awareness of actually doing that? So that can be a danger for us at work, especially if our minds are wandering, if we're thinking about things outside of what we are doing. So staying focused, being self-aware is very important. One thing that helps me do that is when I clock into work, I mentally put everything that's in my mind, not work related, maybe concerns about my family, my children, my bills, what I'm going to cook for dinner, all of those thoughts that are going through my head. I virtually put them in a backpack in my mind, and I set it aside. And I tell myself, those are going to be there when you're done with work. They're not going anywhere. You can pick them back up. And that really helps me focus on the work at hand and what I'm doing. If you have something that you use to help you stay focused at work, a trick or a philosophy, go ahead and unmute yourself and share it with the rest of the class. I would love a couple of comments if anybody can add to this discussion. All right. Either we've got a lot of shy people or nothing to share. If something comes up, go ahead and raise your hand, and I'd love to hear from you about how you stay focused. Another part of being professional is having critical thinking skills, being able to come up with thinking out of the box and coming up with creative solutions to problems. Employers really appreciate that. When you're a critical thinker, you look at things from a rational and practical perspective. You're able to separate your own personal feelings and bias from the problem and look at the different options and make an informed decision. You're able to differentiate between facts, opinions, and personal feelings. Think with an open mind and question assumptions. I have a video I'd like to show you. It's put out by the U.S. Department of Labor that shows an example of a new employee, not in a healthcare setting, but in a daycare setting, and how they use their critical thinking skills to really solve some problems. that come up in their workplace. And I just wanted to share a comment. I saw that we got one in the chat about staying focused. Thank you, Matthew. Matthew says, I learned to maintain focus on work and remaining in the present while commercial fishing. In that environment, it was a matter of safety with a potential for severe harm or bodily injury and costly damage to the equipment. I simply carried that focus into my current occupation. Thank you, Matthew. Yeah, I can imagine the consequences of losing focus in a situation like that could be fatal, literally fatal. So excellent. Thank you for sharing that. So I'm going to start this video about creative problem solving. And it looks like you can see that. I hope so.
Hi, Allie. How'd the early shift go?
Terrible.
Why? What happened?
Well, Jackie took Brandon's shoes during nap time and he hid them somewhere and he can't remember where he hid them. These kids drive me crazy.
Does he do this kind of thing often?
Only every other day. You wouldn't know because you're new here, but kids are always losing their shoes, their jackets, everything.
Did you look in his cubby?
I've looked in all the cubbies.
Well, just about time for the kids to go outside. How about this? Do Brandon and Jackie wear the same shoe size?
Yeah, that's why Jackie took them in the first place.
Well, how about Brandon can wear Jackie's shoes outside, and I'll keep Jackie inside with me while he helps me look for Brandon's shoes?
That's a great idea.
Hey, I see you found Brandon's shoes. They were buried in the tub with the Legos.
Jackie, what's with the color labels?
I was thinking, the kids have labels in all their clothing, but they still lose things from time to time, right?
Yeah.
Well, maybe it would help if we use color labels for all their items. Kids are big on colors. And even if they can't read the labels so well, they can still recognize the colors. What do you think?
I think that's a terrific idea. I'll go get the kids into their shoes.
Wherever you work, there will always be problems that need to be solved every day. Employers look for people who can think on their feet, assess problems, and find solutions. Ideal employees can think critically and creatively, share thoughts and opinions, use good judgment, and make decisions. And they can do it on their own or as part of a team. To find out more, just log on to the website.
Oh, goodness.
Good morning, Jason.
I accidentally started another
You're late,
video.
Jason. I know, Ramon.
Sorry about that. Okay. Get back to where we were here. Okay, sorry about that. Still learning the ropes on this platform here. So what I really liked about that video is that we have a new employee here who came up with a creative solution to a problem. And not only did she find a solution to the problem, but she had the foresight to come up with a solution to prevent that problem from happening again in the future. So we had kids taking each other's shoes, and she suggested color coding everybody's belongings so it'd be much easier. So really liked that suggestion and show of great critical thinking and creative problem solving. The next thing I'd like to talk about is developing a strong work ethic. So I would like your input on this. If I told you that someone had a strong work ethic, let's say David, new employee, he's got a really strong work ethic. If you could put in the chat box what you would assume about him, just knowing that he has a strong work ethic, what does that mean to you? If you could type something in the chat box there, a word or a phrase of characteristics that come to mind, I'm going to share those with the rest of the class. Motivated. Excellent. Thank you, Eric. Completes the tasks on time. Excellent. Thank you, Jordan. Consistent hard work. Thank you, Kylie. I agree. Attention to detail. Thank you, Heather. Go ahead and continue to put those in there. I'm going to share a couple with you that I came up with. Being able to stay focused and leave their personal problems at home, like we talked about, self-awareness. Applying themselves to the task at hand. That's something that we talked about. Jordan and Kylie mentioned that. Getting their work done right the first time. And that means putting forth your best effort. Not that you never make a mistake, but you don't intentionally make mistakes or don't intentionally not give your very best work. And when mistakes happen, you own up to it and you get it fixed. Exercise self-discipline and self-control. Know what management expects of them and measure up to that. And finally, don't wait to be told what to do. Actually, I've got another one after that, but I wanted to expand on that a little bit. I taught a pre-employment training for healthcare workers about a year ago in Kenai, and I had a guest speaker who was the hiring manager for nurses at the Kenai Peninsula Hospital. And he came and told us that there were two main characteristics that he looked for when he was hiring nurses at the hospital. The first one was dependability, knowing that they would show up on time and be there when they were scheduled to work. And the second was this don't wait to be told what to do or taking initiative. There are a lot of things that some employees might look at and say, yeah, that needs to be done, but that's not my job. That lends itself to a poor team member and not realizing that we're all working for the same end goal. And that's one of my pet peeves when I say, well, that's not my job. My job is to make sure that my team delivers quality work, performs to the best of their ability. And if that means I clean a toilet, then I clean a toilet if it needs to be done. And so seeing when something is lacking, something needs to be taken care of, and taking care of it. Of course, if you have the authority to do that, that's in your scope of practice. But that's a huge positive attribute that employers look for. And also demonstrating a positive attitude and enthusiasm for work is really big. Speaking of work ethic, I'm sure we all can think of a time when we worked with somebody, or maybe more than one person, who didn't have a strong work ethic. might be someone who didn't show up on time, took the extended lunch break, said they would follow through with things or finish a project and then not do that. And that's really hard to work in an environment like that when you have a strong work ethic. When you think about the effect that has on the atmosphere, one person really can bring down a whole group of people with their bad attitude and lack of enthusiasm. So I'm curious, another poll I'm going to share with you on what you think would be the best thing to do in a situation like that. If you had working with coworkers who didn't have a strong work ethic, what would you do? So I'm pulling up a poll here. I've listed some possible answers to that question, and go ahead and tell me what you think would be the appropriate thing to do. I've got 82% of you voted. If you haven't voted, go ahead and pick one of those options. And if you have another option, go ahead and put it in the chat box. I'd love to hear that too. Okay, I'm going to close this poll and share the results with you. So a lot of votes for both privately mentioning your concerns to your supervisor and being friendly while continuing to do your best. And this is kind of a trick question because there is not one answer that is going to be the right answer in every situation. There are going to be a lot of factors that play into what the best course of action is going to be, and both of those could be very appropriate and very effective. The one that I hoped that nobody would pick and they didn't is the relax your standards, because working hard obviously isn't important to that employer. And when you make decisions about how you are going to react to people around you, to situations around you, I would encourage you to make a determination now. What kind of person do you want to be? What kind of work ethic do you want to have? And decide, this is who I want to be. This is how I'm going to perform, regardless of what's going on around me, regardless of who is performing or not performing around me. I'm still a person with a strong work ethic, with integrity, and with honesty. And that is an amazing way to be. It takes a lot of the stress out of evaluating every situation and deciding what you're going to do. Just deciding, I'm going to be this type of person, and go ahead and make those decisions and that behavior in accordance with who you want to be. As you do that, you are going to develop a reputation among your employer, among your family, among your friends, of being a person that they can look up to and respect, and possibly even mentor them. So never relax your standards. Be who you choose to be intentionally, is my message. Let me go ahead and continue here. So the next topic I wanted to talk about is attendance and punctuality. This is something that is critical in any job. Employer after employer after employer tell us we have employees that just don't show up for work, or show up half hour, hour late, don't call in, and it puts such a burden on us. It's important to take that commitment seriously. When you are scheduled to work, you show up on time, show up a few minutes early, even better. Easier said than done. There are a lot of things that can come up to prevent us from doing that. And of course, There's always going to be emergencies, but to be able to communicate those to your supervisor is important so they know what to expect. To know that you didn't just blow them off, but there's a situation that you're dealing with. So we can employ different strategies to help us keep that good attendance and that good punctuality. Some things that I have done. I'm not a particularly happy morning person. I'd much rather stay up late and sleep in late. That's my natural rhythm. But when I'm working and I have to be to work at a specific time, if I do things the night before that need to be done, it makes my morning go so much more smoothly. So I try to do everything the night before that I can. I decide what I'm going to wear. I pack my lunch. I make sure my car has gas in it. Anything that I can do that will take away work the next morning, I do it the night before when I have the energy to do that. And then there's no surprises in the morning. Oh, my car's out of gas, or I put on an outfit and there's a big stain on it and I'm too embarrassed to wear it to work, so I got to find something else. So that's one thing that I do. I'd like you to share in the chat box what you do or any strategies that you employ to make sure you're able to meet your commitments, be where you're supposed to be on time. Is there anything that you do that helps with that, that you could share with the rest of the class? Some people have told me that setting alarms on their phone is very helpful to them. Give them, an alarm 15 minutes before they need to be somewhere. Having a calendar that you refer to several times a day with your appointments on it, where you need to be when, can also be helpful. Anything else you think of? All right, if something comes to mind, please share it with us. The next thing I want to talk about is reliability and accountability. Reliability goes hand in hand with dependability. This means that you can be counted on to do what you said you were going to do, to fulfill your responsibilities. When you have been given an assignment, your supervisor doesn't need to wonder, are they going to get that done or are they not? They have that confidence in you that you will do what they've asked you to do or what needs to be done. That is a part of being professional. And then accountability comes along when we own our own actions, when we acknowledge when we've made mistakes. Some people might have a tendency to blame other people when a mistake happens, or hide it, not bring it to light, and that can be really dangerous. And no one expects you to be perfect and not make mistakes, but when you try and cover that up or blame somebody else, that really degrades your reputation and can compound that problem and even be dangerous to patients and our coworkers if we don't bring to light a mistake that we've made or a problem that we see. Next, let's talk a little bit about attitude and enthusiasm. Are you the pessimist? Are you the person that always expects the worst possible scenario to come to pass? Do you think that things are always hard or always difficult? Or are you the optimist, always having hope for the best, having confidence and faith that things will work out? This can be part of our natural personalities to either be pessimistic or optimistic. And I'm not saying that optimists are better than pessimists. There are positive effects of both of those types of personalities, but In the workplace, if you have someone who really has a negative attitude, it can affect everybody around them and really bring down the whole department and other coworkers. So if you are a pessimist, I would encourage you to put some effort into changing your outlook and realizing that you have a lot of power to affect those around you. If you're an optimist, make sure that your positive attitude is evident at work and you use that power for good. I'm going to show you another video really quick, and this is kind of a comical look at a positive attitude and a negative attitude and what message your attitude can send to your employers or other people. Let me pull that up. This is also another video by the U.S. Department of Labor.
Hey, are you like Mr. Madison?
Miss Madison, I assume you're Travis Wilson. You're a bit late.
Oh, hey, sorry, man.
Have a seat.
Sure. Thanks, dude.
So, Mr. Wilson, do you have any experience in the insurance field?
Well, one time my dad showed me his like car insurance bill or something. He was like totally flipping out because of this really bad accident I got into. Oh, hold on. What's up? Oh, nothing. Not just in an interview.
Mr. Wilson.
Oh, hi, Travis Wilson here for my 9 o'clock interview.
Ooh, right on time. Come on into my office.
Thank you. And here's an extra copy of my resume in case you need it.
Great, thanks. So, Mr. Wilson, do you have any experience in the insurance field?
No, ma'am, I don't. But people tell me that I'm a quick learner and I always welcome a challenge.
Good, I like that.
Thanks again. So, if you were Ms. Madison, would you hire me or would you like hire me? When you're applying for a job, a positive attitude and enthusiasm can make all the difference. Dress appropriately, be on time, smile and make good eye contact. Be positive and upbeat when you talk about your training or work experience. That way, you'll show an employer that you want to be at work and that you're willing to do what it takes to get the job done. Yeah, whatever, dude. To find out more, just log on to our website.
All right, hopefully you were able to see that video. I would love to hear your comments. Let's say you were that employer, you were Miss Madison. The first guy that walked in wasn't very professional. What kind of employee would he be? From what you saw right there, if you were to hire him, what would you expect his behavior to be, his performance to be? You can put it in the chat, or if you would like to unmute yourself and share a couple of comments. Let me know what message you received from his interview. Not reliable. Okay, excellent. Lazy and unreliable. Unable to maintain productivity while acting autonomously. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I know what you mean though. Yeah, acting independently on their own. Okay. Right. That's the same impression I got. Him answering his cell phone call during an interview, putting his feet up on the counter, showed an attitude of, I really don't care. Don't care about the impression I'm making, don't care about you or what's going on. I just am caring about myself. Unprofessional, would not represent the organization well, absolutely. All right, second guy, came in there on time with a suit. Go ahead and put in the chat box what type of worker you think he would be from what you saw in that interview. Dedicated, thank you, Jean. Yeah. Responsible, absolutely, thank you, Rachel. Dependable and motivated. Thank you, Jordan. Positive attitude, absolutely, Philip. Honest about skills, motivated to learn, presents himself professionally. Excellent, Heather. The thing that I thought was really interesting about comparing and contrasting those two interviews is that neither one of those applicants had experience in that field. So this was an insurance company. Neither one of them had experience, but that second interview, he presented himself in such a professional way that it made you want to hire him. He was honest that he didn't have experience, but he said, I am a fast learner. I'm motivated to do a good job. So presented himself in a very positive light, very professionally, even though he didn't have relevant skills or experience. His professionalism made you want to take a chance on him. And his effort that he put in to being there on time, having a copy of his resume, being dressed professionally, gave you a view of what type of employee he would be. So there's so much we can communicate outside of our words, how we dress, how we prepare ourselves, how we show up, that tells people what type of person we are. Thank you for your comments, everybody. All right, the next part of professionalism we're going to touch on briefly is compliance. Every healthcare company, organization, clinic, hospital, almost every employer has written policies and procedures plus employee handbooks to communicate their expectations. And it's our responsibility as employees to make sure we know what those are and that we comply with them. Complying with laws and policies has always been important to healthcare. Acting in accordance with laws and with a company's rules, policies, and procedures is a big part of being professional. Ignoring a rule, violating a policy, or breaking the law can compromise quality. It could hurt a patient or a coworker and get you fired from your job. A part of compliance is having a current license or certification if that is required for your position. So a license is a credential from a state agency awarding legal permission to practice. A credential is from a state agency or professional association awarding permission to use a special professional title. So there's CNA certification, certified nursing assistants. There's a nursing license that you must have to perform in those positions. Does your job require a license or a certification? If so, what might happen if you work without active status, license, or certification? You could open yourself and your employers up to lawsuits, legal proceedings. It's very unprofessional, something that we'd absolutely avoid. So make sure what certifications, credentials, and licenses you need, and make sure they're up to date and current. There are other aspects of compliance, such as safety and environmental precautions, labor laws, retention of records, Medicare billing and reimbursement, paying back the company for money spent, licenses and credentials, conflict of interest, inappropriate relationships between personal interest and official responsibilities. There's a whole list of things that we could do that would be inappropriate, unethical, immoral in our workplace. Fraud, improperly changing or destroying records, creating a hostile workplace, stealing property. All of these things absolutely have no place in a professional person's life. Don't need to say that, I'm sure you know, but sometimes we can have a tendency to justify behavior that might be considered inappropriate if we say, oh, everybody does it, or nobody's going to notice, or this is something where there's not a victim, nobody gets hurt. And I want to go back again to what I said earlier about deciding who you want to be and always being that person of honesty and integrity, whether somebody's watching or not, whether somebody's going to find out or not, having that reputation that people know they can count on you to do the right thing. So what if there's inappropriate behavior going on at your workplace? Do we want to be the snitch? Do we want to be the tattletale and tell our supervisor when things are going on that shouldn't be? And I would say absolutely yes. As a professional, you would never knowingly engage in illegal or unethical behavior yourself, but you might observe somebody else doing something suspicious. It's important to report any suspicious activity, issues, and concerns to the appropriate person. The law protects what we call whistleblowers from retribution. If you suspect someone of illegal or an unethical behavior, it's your responsibility to report on it. You may have had situations in your workplace where this has happened, something has gone on that wasn't right, that wasn't safe, that wasn't appropriate, that wasn't legal or ethical. Think for a minute about what the consequences could be if you ignored that, if you just let that go and didn't bring it to the attention of the appropriate person. What could happen? Go ahead and put that in the chat box. Your thoughts on that, please. And if anybody would like to talk, feel free to unmute your microphone and share your experience too. So the question is, what are the consequences of ignoring inappropriate or illegal behavior at work? Jordan says that this behavior would continue and end up creating an unsafe environment for coworkers. Absolutely. Matthew, you can personally be held just as responsible as the person committing the bad act. It will reflect poorly on you, your company, your organization, and a bevy of other potential consequences depending on the outcome it has on patients, clients, and staff. Thank you, Matthew. Absolutely true. It won't get better, but it most certainly will get worse. Absolutely, Rachel. If nothing's done when inappropriate behavior is going on or unethical or illegal, the atmosphere can easily go to, well, this is appropriate. Nobody's doing anything about this, so this is okay. And it can escalate to where it could get to a legal problem. It could be a safety problem. It could be a life or death situation for patients or other coworkers. Thank you for your comments. I really appreciate that. Well, we are almost at the end of our hour. I just briefly want to show you 2 video clips. These are actual real incidents of people behaving inappropriately and unprofessionally. Real life, I got this online, and just want to show you this kind of stuff does happen, and it can have negative consequences for the individual and their employer. The first one here is at a Wendy's restaurant. You might have seen this. Let's see if I can get.
Look at those. Wait, I want to turn off the thing. Yeah. It might suck you up in there. Go, 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 go. Oh shit. Take a bath. Take a bath. Yeah. Get in there. Oh my god, color good everywhere. How's it feel? It's warm. It's warm. Turn the jets on. Turn the jets on. It's making it hot. Turn it up. A towel? What? These white towels over here.
All right, the next one is an FBI agent, after hours.
Video of a dancing FBI agent you see right there at a Colorado bar is going viral for all the wrong reasons. It's got the attention of his FBI supervisor. Video of a dancing FBI agent you see right there at a Colorado bar is going viral for all the wrong reasons. It's got the attention of his FBI supervisors as well. A deputy does a backflip, and then take a look at that. His gun falls right out of his pants. When he grabs it, look at there. See the fire?
Whoa.
Yeah, he accidentally shot somebody in the leg. Officers took him to Denver Police Headquarters and released him to his FBI supervisor. The city's district attorney's office will decide whether to file charges.
All right. So whether we are on the clock or it's after hours, we represent our employer using common sense and integrity. Make sure that we are acting professional, that people can count on us, that we have a reputation of being the very best that we can be, and a person that others want to work with and want to work for. I know those Wendy's employees all got fired from that. They were streaming that live online. Not sure what happened to the FBI agent, but it negatively impacted their reputation. He was off work, but he did something that was inappropriate to do, and it injured somebody. Somebody got shot from that. So this stuff happens all the time. Anyway, thank you for coming today and learning more about professionalism and work ethic. I have up on your screen the topics that are coming up at the next 9 trainings. Tomorrow will be relationships and teamwork. My email address is down there at the bottom and the link to attend. Our class yesterday had a cap of 50 people, and we were pleasantly surprised that we actually had more people want to attend than our cap allowed. And so we are in the process of expanding that up to 200 attendees, and that should be in place tomorrow for tomorrow's workshop, Relationships and Teamwork, at 12 to 1 o'clock. So I hope you can be there. If you have any questions or comments, I'll stay online for a couple more minutes. You can put them in the chat box or email me. And I hope this was beneficial to you. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you tomorrow on our webinar. Have a good day, guys. Thank you. Thanks, Jean. Bye-bye. Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Heather.